Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Hunter Gatherer channel. And today I'm just going to give you a little overview on my 96 F350 crew cab Powerstroke diesel. It's the OBS, old body style, and I've done some things to it recently. A little bit of maintenance, trying to get it up and running really well, and it's running pretty good. We just did a 600-mile road trip, and today I'm just going to show you some of the things we've done. And I'm also going to show you how to change a high pressure power steering line. Yesterday I pulled up to the driveway and stopped right here to back in. As I turned the wheel, I heard a clunk and had no more power steering. And as I backed up, I noticed the fluid in the trail down the drive into where I was parked. And I looked first under the wheel well and noticed fluid, and I looked up in here and I noticed that my high pressure power steering line had broken. Luckily I called the parts store and they had one in stock. It was like 8 o'clock last night, so I went and got it this morning. The thing about the power steering braking right in front of the driveway, to me, is just a blessing. We just, like I said, we just did a 600-mile road trip up in some really twisty, turny, up and down hills down in Pennsylvania in the Pocono area, and it could have been a bad situation if it broke mid 60-mile-an-hour drive on a sharp corner, or we were going, 75 in some of the highways that we were on. Was 70-mile-an-hour zone, so it could have been a bad situation. I think it was a blessing that God allowed it to happen right at the driveway. So you got to count your blessings, and I don't mind turning a wrench when you need to, and when it happens right at the driveway, I say that's a blessing. So I'm going to show you some of the things that I've done recently, and then we'll get into the project. So here we are in the engine bay, and I'm just going to go from one side to the other and show what I've done. So over here in this vicinity where you see the fresh tape, back behind, down there, you see that gray or tan item right down there? That's the heater resistor. If you're driving one of these older trucks and your blower only works in high, that's your issue most of the time. I put a new resistor in there, and had to wire in a new pigtail to the wiring harness because it was shorted out in the connector and fried one of the points, so had to change that out. Last year the water pump went on the front here. The water pump went, it broke, the pulley popped off, the fan went into the radiator, so I put a new radiator, new water pump, and a new thermostat housing right here. These trucks are known for those thermostat housings to go and you get a coolant leak, so keep an eye on that. So the coolant system is all doing pretty good. So then the main thing that we worked on, see that shiny new red or shiny silver thing here? That's a fuel pump. It's a 2-stage fuel pump, so it pumps the fuel out of the fuel tank into this filter housing, pressurizes it a little bit, and then it pumps it back out of the filter housing, pressurizes it again, and sends it to the fuel injectors. So I just got done putting that fuel pump in. It's a little bit of a hassle. You gotta take this Y pipe off, you gotta take this all out of the way. Well, I had that out of the way. In this area here, one of these spots, I can't remember if it's, I think it's in here. Anyways, there's a, that's your fuel pressure regulator is in this area, and I put a new filter into it and new check ball, and did some other work to that. Put all new fuel lines onto the filter bowl, and then up here where it's nice and shiny, I put a new clamp, and I put a new O-ring gasket in there. There wasn't one, and there was a pretty good blow-by oil leak in there from the turbo area, and that was due to the fact that the previous owner just put some silicone in there to try to seal it up instead of buying the $5 O-ring and put it in place. I think that's it for the engine bay. Oh, and I did have an issue trying to start it back up after I changed the fuel pump. This truck had sat for 9 months, and I thought, crap, it's not going to work. Maybe it wasn't the oil pump after all, after I did all that work. I filled this up with, or the fuel pump, yeah. I didn't think it was the fuel pump. I filled this up with fuel. Then there's a Schrader valve on this side, and if you jump a wire from right here to the positive, that'll crank over the motor, but it won't let it start. And you can put a screwdriver into that valve, that Schrader valve, and that will prime your line. So then after I did all that, still wasn't starting, and I couldn't figure it out. I thought it was the high pressure oil pump, because that's what these things run on, is the high pressure oil pump is what pressurizes your injectors. And this box right here is your high pressure oil pump oil reservoir. And if you pop this screw out here, I put my screwdriver down in it, and to check if there was any oil. There was no oil in it. I filled it up with oil, and the truck fired up. So there's a check ball in there, and it had let it seep by after 9 months, and it wasn't full, so it wouldn't run. So check your high pressure oil pump oil reservoir and make sure there's oil in there. Maybe that's an issue that you might be having, why it's not starting. Another thing that I did while I was doing all that work is I put a new door handle on the passenger side, because that one my uncle had broken off in his excitement to go deer hunting with me. He grabbed that plastic door handle and snapped it right off. He had too many monster drinks, I think. Anyways, the other thing that I did on the driver's side, that door handle wasn't broken off, but it wasn't working. So I put in the new door opening cable that goes from there up and around and over to here. So now I can open both doors from the inside. Another thing that I did, I went to a junkyard and I bought a new ashtray and replaced all that, because my ashtray, one of the tabs on here was broken. It's been broken for like 12 years maybe. Somebody pulled it out too hard and snapped it off, I guess. And when you drive down the road and hit bumps, it would just fall on the ground and all my change would go everywhere. So I don't smoke, but ashtray gets full of change when I have some. Not recently, but I changed this your multi-switch, and there's many things that does. It's not too hard to change, but it's got your your windshield washers, windshield wipers, turn signals, and your four-ways. So the truck's had a few things changed. I've changed the vacuum pump 2 or 3 times. I was new to diesels when I bought this truck, and I never knew that you had to have a separate pump for vacuum. That's what this item is here. It's your vacuum pump. If you lose power steering and you lose brakes, that is probably what happened. Either your vacuum pump is gone or your serpentine belt has broken. I'm getting ready to change out this air breather box. I'm going to put a new filter in that's going to be a little bit better quality, and I got to get a new boot. It's working now, but it's torn underneath the clamp, so I got to get a new boot put on there. The last thing I did was repairing some brakes. The week after I got the fuel pump fixed, started the truck up, and my foot went to the floor on the brakes, and it had broken right where it goes into the frame there. So I replaced that line, found a solid spot on the brake line over here, flared both sides and put a union in it, and then I replaced that hose. It was pretty rough looking, and I figured it was going to break when I was trying to undo the other part. It had a little bit of a leak up here too. So anyway, I got that fixed, and you can see the top of my ball joints here and the bottom. I've been spraying that with PB Blaster. I'm working on planning to do the upper and lower ball joints here in a week or so. One of them is a little loose, and want to change them, and I'm going to change the U-joints in the knuckles on both sides for the four-wheel drive. It clunks pretty good on the driver's side, so I want to get that done while I'm at it. One other thing that we did before we went on the vacation, the little road trip, was I thought, you know what, everything's running pretty good except for the AC. I tried to charge the AC myself with one of the little bottles, you know, and it goes over here, I believe. Yeah. So that's, and you can see there's green dye in there. So I tried charging it myself and it wouldn't work. So I called a local radiator shop, or it's actually it's a radiator shop, but they do AC also. And called them. I dropped it off that night. The next day they charged it. He said he had an issue when he was drawing vacuum. It was letting a little by, so we thought maybe there was something wrong, but he figured he'd fill it and see if he could find the leak. And after he filled it, he couldn't find a leak. It wasn't leaking. I don't think I've used the AC on this thing in like 12 years, 14 years maybe. And it could have just been an O-ring was a little dry, and once it got filled up, it expanded and sealed it off. But the AC works. We went on that trip. It was about 90 degrees and we were comfortable in the truck instead of having windows down. So praise the Lord, it worked. And thank you, Dansville Radiator, for filling our AC system. But yeah, they put dye in it, and we're gonna take it down there in a couple weeks maybe, and just to see if it's leaking anywhere, see what's going on. But a 96 with working AC. That's the overview on the truck, on a lot of the new parts that it's got, and some of the work that we've done in the last month. And hopefully it'll be running really well this winter. I have a few different projects today. The first thing is I'm working on my power steering line. Neighbors' kids are saying hello. Working on power steering line. And this is what it looks like. This is the piece here that broke, and goes from the power steering pump down, does a 180, and it goes back into the steering box. So that's the first thing. And then I have my daughter's 2017 Ford Fusion here, and it's got a P3030 or a P0303, I think is what it is, code, and that's the third cylinder is having a misfire issue. It could be a spark plug, it could be a coil, it could be an injector, and I'm going to work on that next. And then this is for the hunter-gatherer mobile. I'm going to give it an oil change and some windshield washer fluid, because it keeps on telling me it doesn't have any. So that's kind of the day's projects. I got the day off and it's a beautiful day, not too hot, and I'm not a shade tree mechanic anymore. I'm a carport shade mechanic, I guess, which is under the shade tree. So we're going to get over here and get working on the truck and show you how to swap out that hose. So the first thing I did was glove up, and I know a lot of you guys will be like, oh, what a wuss or whatever, but you know what, I never used to, and these gloves do a pretty good job. Usually you gotta scrub your hands pretty good to get all the grease off, and you know what, now you don't have to. I used to think the same thing about gloves for gutting a deer. I always thought, oh, you bunch of babies, you don't want to touch the blood, but I don't have a problem getting blood on my hands or getting grease on my hands, but just easier to wash up if you don't. So now I'll usually use gloves for both. Not all the time, but if you got them, why not use them? So this is a line wrench here. It's got a little gap in it. I don't know if most of you probably already know, but this is so that you can get the benefits of a box end wrench or closed end wrench or whatever you want to call it. You can go through the line and then get on it, and that way you don't just have two spots connecting, but you have multiple spots connecting and touching, so you're not stripping the nut off. So like I said, this is 11/16, and I'm just looking at it now, trying to diagnose the issue, and it just looks like enough rattling and such from the truck that it was able to blow that off of there. So there's a a high spot here, and there's a groove in there that it fits in, and it just too much pressure, and over the years it finally had succumbed to the vibration of the truck. So that's the top side, and now we're going to go down to the bottom side. The bottom side is a 1/2 inch, and that's this here, and you get down there and get that off and get the other one in. Should be simple. We have stone underneath the carport, and nobody wants to lay on that. So, thankfully, yeah, luckily, thankfully, whatever, our dishwasher went the other day, so we had to install a new dishwasher. Well, here we go. State-of-the-art stone blocking agent right there. And we got our 1/2 inch wrench, and I'm looking, trying to figure out which one is which. It might be one of those do it blind situations. I think it's up under and you can't quite see it from there, kind of thing. I don't know if you can see it, but it's right there. This, not this one, but this one. And I changed the steering box once before, and it is a little bit of a challenge to get in that little area. But we're gonna make it happen. So let's get under here. Get between the spring and the tire. Oh yeah. Not a whole lot of room to move a wrench in there. How's my contortionist? Come on, baby. Got enough lube on there. Alright, maybe that's the wrong angle. I ended up cutting the end of that off with a Sawzall so I could get a closed end wrench on it, and I had to give it a little tap with the hammer, and got it to break free. So I got the new one in here. You can see it's shiny and new, and I can just get my one arm up around the frame, trying to hold on to the one end and get this. Try not to get any grease down in there, or old whatever there is in your truck. I got a lot of like oil that's kind of sat there for a while, and just try to get that to start threading in. There we go. Got it started, and I'll be able to use the open end on this wrench for a little bit. I might not need to, and then I'll get that other line wrench on it. Let's see here. Might be able to. See, it's at a funny angle, and the frame is in the way, and these other lines are in the way, and you can just get just enough. Yeah, we're going with the box end, or the open end. I can flip it over once in a while so I can get onto it. Once I get it all the way down, I'll be able to hook onto it with the other one maybe. Give it that one last little half twist. That's pretty tight. Let's see what we can get on this. that's got it. And we'll head up to the top. Alright, we got her started. Alright. There we go. What do you know? Power steering fluid is completely empty. Huh. There's tons of different types of power steering fluids, probably all about the same. I got this Lucas oil here, and you know, Lucas name has a pretty good name anyways, so I went with it. And I think they had it on sale too, so that was another good selling point for me. Fill her up, try it out, see how good of a shot I am. Oh, and hey, just a quick tip. You see how I'm pouring it this way so the air can go. If you go the other way, boom, it's pouring out on you right off the bat. So this way you can get it started tipping and then fill it up. We're in the full department for now. Fire it up and turn it a few times and see if it needs any more. I don't know if you heard that. I think it needs a little more fluid. Oh yeah, it's empty. Do it again. Little more. All right, that's it. Project number one, the bad power steering hose. Filled her up, ready to go. I'm gonna jump onto the next ones and hopefully get them all done before too late, and then get into my honeybees, and got a couple other projects still to do today. So got that project done. If that helped you, if you have any questions on any of the other things that I told you I did, the fuel pump, I also changed the starter on this to a newer style starter. It turns over a little quicker. I've done that. The radiator, the water pump. Also, I don't know if you could tell, but past the power steering pump, there's a new oil cooler on the side of the motor that we did. There's a few other things. Anyway, if you have any questions, I'm not a 7.3 professional or master mechanic, but I have been working on it for a little while, so I do know some things. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm not going to do a whole ton of different vehicle maintenance videos, but every once in a while, something that I'm working on or that I enjoy, I'll throw it on there. So we'll do the simple oil change on the Jeep. You don't need to worry about that. We did do a video on a new fuel tank in the Jeep. That was kind of interesting, so I did that. And I might do the video on the spark plugs just because I got a little of my own take on it. So check for that video in the future. Anyhow, that's our 7.3, the deer hauler when we can, the firewood hauler, and then we've got the Jeep that's the hunter-gatherer mobile. All right, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. It's nice to tinker on some things, turn some wrenches once in a while, learn something new. So if you're afraid of tackling this project, don't be. It's pretty simple. Just have the right tools. And that's it. Hey, we love you. God loves you. We'll see you on the next one. And good luck on that 7.3 Powerstroke if you have one. Have a great one.